Hello everybody and welcome to this, and I thought I'd make an impromptu kind of first thoughts video about Doom Eternal for the 10 people that are still pontificating on whether or not to get it. Not to go out and get it because of the COVID, so you don't want to mess with that. But ultimately, you can digitally download it right now because you should, because it's an amazing game, and I'll tell you why. If you liked the first one, if you didn't like the first one, like the 2016 Doom, and the implementation of it was reimagining of Doom and the re-implementation of what Doom could be, and I got something in my fucking eye, which is perfect, but reinventing what Doom could be and what it used to be, and kind of translating what Doom originally was into kind of bringing it into the fray, kind of bringing it into 2020 with modern technology, or 2016 with modern technology and a new updated engine and everything like that, instead of going this route of action adventure, survival horror kind of with story beats. Though this game has a story, but I would say Doom 3 kind of thought, well, maybe we should become like a action adventure, survival horror kind of slight Metroidvania kind of idea. So whether or not that's completely accurate, but it's a hell lot of fun because it found a way to mesh arcade action with with a bit of that, not survival horror because you're the omniscient badass that is the Doom guy, the Marine, because he's a fucking badass. But it's arcadey fun, but you're also traversing the environment as you would in a traditional kind of action adventure game. And you're kind of pushing forward in the momentum of the combat and everything, and this is the same. This is no different in Doom Eternal. If anything, everything is ramped up 100%, and obviously the delay, and what that delay ended up doing for the game, whether or not that was new features or if that was just tuning. I think it was ultimately just tuning out the wazoo, and you do feel it. Everything just feels perfect and right, except a couple things that kind of bother me, whether or not they're things that maybe they're just kind of quibbles that I have, but maybe nobody else would notice. Not that I want to spoil. I'm not going to spoil the story because the story starts to get interesting. However, there's a couple things about it. So not the story itself, not the narrative. I'm not going to give that away, but the cutscenes and how because at least in the 2016 game, a lot of games have been doing this as of late, where the cutscenes don't it's a one shot. So like Kratos and God of War, you never really leave, there's never a cutscene that kind of leaves your view. There's I guess a couple, but there isn't like a kind of almost like a second person kind of viewpoint, if that makes any sense. Like everything's through the eyes of, like in 2016, everything was through the eyes of the Marine. You never actually saw him from another angle or kind of a cinematic shot. But when it happens, it kind of feels weird and a little disjointed. And the cutscenes are almost like a 2004 era kind of thing, where they just it just kind of, the game fades to black, and then all of a sudden you're seeing a cutscene of something that a lever that you pulled, something happening. And I know a lot of games do that, but at the same time, it just feels kind of dated. And then in the story beats, it's kind of doing the same thing too, where it will show like cinematic, there's the Doom guy talking to, so-and-so, and it just kind of feels just a little disjointed and not as refined as it could have been. That's just my issue. That was just me though, my subjective little quibble. But aside from that, kind of reminded me of Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, if that makes any sense, but the cutscenes anyway. But no, the fluidity of the combat, your unfailing ability to just keep, dishing out combat while evading, and implementation of, obviously new weapons, and each weapon has like 2 different augmentable, or I guess you'd say, the ability to modify your weapons, but on the fly, so you can just like switch out attachments, just like 2016, except this is basically, Doom Eternal is basically Doom 2016 on steroids, essentially, and Doom 2016 was, every other iteration of Doom up until that point on steroids. So it's just kind of I don't know where they're going to go next, because this is going to sell gangbusters, obviously. But yeah, no, and there's like, you know, runes that you can unlock and a perk system, and then you can, there's like a suit perk system, and it's just like, and you have this like, almost like a Justice League type of, you know, floating ship base orbiting Earth, and it's kind of like a hub, and you get to visit it, and it's like super cool. Not really much of anything to complain about, except the little disjointed nature of the cutscenes, and you'll just be like dishing out carnage, and you know you almost like enter an arena sort of thing, and when all the enemies are been, you know, once they've been, you know, basically dismantled, ripped apart, killed, annihilated, you know, I guess what would you call it? Just basically the fuck if I can speak English, the perimeter of the area lifts and you can leave, but you'll be in the middle of finishing off the last couple enemies, and then all of a sudden, you know, it'll just fade to black, and it'll be like, ooh, you know, here's something you need to go to, and it's like, I don't know, I just feel like games to this point don't really do that. It's kind of like an older style type of thing where, you know, the game doesn't leave your view. Like it'll kind of gold path you to where you need to go, and not just like, you know, you lose sight completely, and then it goes to like a little kind of juxtaposes something you need to do over here. And I know like some games still do that, but it just seemed a little disjointed in how characters interact in cutscenes. So I don't know, it just seems a little, and fuck, damage modeling in this game is just absolutely, I was not expecting it. It's some of the best damage modeling I've ever seen in a game, where it's not just eye candy, but it's a visual representation of you know, basically the health status of the enemies that you're, because some enemies you just fucking blow them up to pieces instantly, but you know, you shoot one of those you know, tougher kind of brute, not a Hell Knight, but just like a soldier guy, and they take a couple hits, but you shoot and like a chunk comes out of them, or like a Hell Knight, you know, like depending on the type of energy of, you know, like, you know, element you inflict, so like ballistics with guns start shredding flesh, and you have like this backpack kind of, you know, flame, it kind of ejects your grenades, and, you know, like this kind of, you know, flamethrower that just kind of shoots up, and there's like an ice thing too, and like obviously the fire burns, just like these visual cues that you see like based upon indirect relation to what you've just done. So like, okay, burn the enemy, he looks like he's been burned, you know, you fire a grenade at him, and, you know, just chunks of, it's just fucking awesome. You just have to play it. Like it's a hard game to describe because you just need to see it in action. But if you haven't bought it already, I do recommend that you do, because it's a deep kind of, it's a deep experience for an FPS, like a predominantly first-person shooter, I'd say, because like a lot of games you'd be like, oh, well, I'm not gonna spend 90 bucks. That's Canadian with tax. $79.99 or 60 bucks on a first-person shooter that I'm gonna just, you know, bang out in a weekend, or in this case a week because of COVID. But no, I'd say it's worth it, and it's a deep experience, and it's like a 15 to 20 hour excursion. So why the fuck not? You should go for it. And I guess this turned out to be kind of a review, impromptu and crude. But yeah, go out and get Doom Eternal. It's fucking great. It's a good time. Have a couple beers, download it, and until next time, take care, stay isolated, you know. Bye-bye.